Hello everyone and welcome to another supplementary video. My name is Kasanas. Guys, in one of the previous videos we took a look at primitive data types, and in this particular video we're going to look at an additional data type called an array. Alright, let's get started. Alright everyone, we're going to start off by just kind of describing what an array is. And this is a pretty big topic. We're not going to cover everything about arrays in this particular video. We're just going to really kind of cover the basics of what an array is and the use of an array. And we'll go into more detail about using arrays within your code as we look at other concepts like loops, or the ability to kind of switch, like switching decisions, like if statements, things like that. So there's a lot of stuff that we're going to have to do before we can get into the full use of arrays. In this particular video, we're going to kind of just describe what they are, look at them very quickly, and then we'll move on to the next video. So first of all, what is an array? An array is a data structure. It's capable of containing a number of different variables. The key to it is that each variable or each element within the array must be of the same data type. So that means that I can have an array of integers or an array of floats or an array of doubles, anything you want. You can have an array of pretty much any type of object at all. Let's take a quick look at how we set up our arrays within code. I've already got myself an array example here, a game object that I've called array example, and I'm going to add a brand new script, and we're going to go through that script, and we're going to go through it, and we're going to initialize some arrays within that script. So I have a couple of choices. I could either go to my scripts down here, I could right click, I could say create, and I could add in a brand new script. I could click on the array example, and I could say add component. We'll do it like this because I don't think we did it like this previously. We'll go here to add component. We'll find the new script option, and we have to give it a name here. Let's call this our array example script. Yeah, I don't think of these names beforehand, guys. I apologize. So we'll call it that array example script. And there we go. We can see that it has been immediately added to that game object, which is great. It's going through its checks or whatever. I'm going to double click. Well, first of all, something to note that it didn't get actually added into my scripts. If I want to set it up properly, it was automatically added to my assets folder. If I want to make sure that I stay nice and clean here, I'm going to grab this, I'm going to drag it, and I'm going to drop it into my scripts folder so everything kind of stays nice and neat and clean. As it resets here, it'll go through this. There we go. And now we'll see that we can actually see it inside of our, right here, we can see it inside of our scripts folder. So we'll stay nice and neat and clean for this example as well. I'm going to double click on the array example script, and it's going to launch Visual Studio. There we go. And here's my array example script. Right now, there's nothing in it. Same as we talked about in the previous week. We have a start and an update function. We're not going to use those right now. All we want to do is take a look at how to go about declaring an array. So last time we talked about primitive data types, we said we would start off with, let's say we were going to make an integer array. We declared ourselves an int of some kind if we wanted to declare an int. And then we'll call this my array. Just call it my array for now. Let's call it my integer array, my int array, so I don't get confused later on. So if I just did this, like we did in the previous videos, this would go ahead and it would declare a single variable called my int array. It would put aside memory for my int array of the size of an integer. Well, we don't want that. What we want to do is we want to declare a number of different integers, and we want to contain them all within one data structure. And that data structure is the array. In order to declare a new array, or in order to define an array, first of all, that this is actually an array, we have to add in here square brackets. And as soon as we add in those square brackets, we have now told Unity that this is going to be an array. So instead of a single variable now, we have a number of variables. We haven't at this time actually declared how many variables are within this array. We just said, hey, we're going to have something that's called my int array, and it's going to be a number of different integers all contained within that same data structure. Now, if we wanted to, we could either just describe this as private, like we've done here, or make it public exactly the same way as we did with our other data types previously. We can also go through and we can automatically add values to this array. So let me declare another array here. Let me say int, and we'll call this, we'll call it my second integer array. Okay. And what we could do if we really wanted to is we could say equals, and then utilizing the braces like this, we could go through and we could add values to this array. So I could say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in doing so, I have now declared an array. So I ended it with my brace and my semicolon. I have now declared an array called my second int array. and I've added to it 5 elements with values 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I didn't have to use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Obviously, these could be any numbers. This could be 15. This could be 24. This could be 33, etc. I didn't have to do anything in order there. That was just an example. But my integer array now has, my second int array now has values associated with it. Okay, great. So in this particular case, I can utilize my second int array and I can read those values however I want. But my int array, my initial int array here, actually has no values associated with it. So with that done, how could we actually make my int array, the initial one I created, into something that's usable? Because at this time, it's not really usable. The system knows, okay, there's going to be this array that exists in space. We don't know how big it is or anything else. Whereas with my second int array, we know exactly how large it is. We can't add additional numbers to this or anything like that. This is how much space has been provided, how much memory has been provided. For my second int array are these 5 elements, space enough for 5 integers. Well, let's say we actually wanted to go through and make my int array something that's usable. We wanted to go through and declare it a particular size. I'm going to go down here into a start function, and I'm going to say my int array. And here, it's already kind of filled out things for me. It said is equal to, and it's got the new keyword. So let me just start with that. Equals new. And it's a new what? It's a new integer array. It's no matter what, it's not changing. It's still an integer array. And at this point in time, we can declare how large this is. Now, it's giving me a hint here saying, do we want to make it the same size as the length of our secondary array? And we'll talk about this in just one second. But for now, let's just take a look at how we would just go ahead and declare, let's say, an array of size 10 elements. I'm going to go in, I'm going to add in my square brackets, I'm going to give it a value of 10, and then I'm going to end it with a semicolon. So what have I done here? In this particular case, I've now defined how large my int array is. It is an integer array. It has 10 elements within it. So I have put aside memory for 10 elements, 10 integer elements. So this is exactly how we go ahead and use it. Now, how would we actually access any one of these? Well, let's take a look, because as of right now, this integer array has been created. The memory's been allocated as brand new integer values. The integer values start off with a value of 0. So right now, my int array is equal to 0. All the elements are equal to 0, whereas my secondary int array have values associated with it. How could I access some of these values? Well, let's take a look. Let's take a look by using our print statement, and I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to print. And what do I want to print? I want to print my second int array, and I want to actually take a look at a very particular value. Let's say I want to take a look at the third element inside of this secondary array. So this second array has the third element's actually equal to 33. Now, I keep saying the third element, and let me just put in here, I'm going to put in here 2, and I'll explain this as we go forward. Okay. It's really important to note that whenever we're counting the elements in an array, that the counting starts at 0. So this value of 1 right here is the 0th array. The first element is the 2, the second element is the 3, the third element is 24, and the fourth element is 15. So even though this has 5 elements in it, we start the counting at 0. So that's why down here I've asked to print out the second element. So it's going to print out number 33. Let me file save this. File save it. And let's just move it out of the way for a second here. And then I'm going to get my console up here. Let's clear off our warnings and let's hit play. So when we hit play, what we're expecting to see is the value of 33. And there we go. We can see the value of 33 came up. So let me stop that. We were able to access my second int array, the third element, which is this one here, the third element in the array, and we were able to print it out. Okay, so that's how we access any of these individual values. So right now, my int array, new int, this one here, my int array, new int. Let's take a look at this for a second here. Let's back this up, and let's just comment this out for now because we don't really care about printing that out. If I actually go through right now and I set, let's say I want to set a value inside of my int array. I know that I have 10 values available to me, 10 locations available to me. I'm going to say my int array, and I can start setting the values. You can see it's already telling me here, you can set your 0th element to equal to 1. So I'm just going to tab this over for now, and we'll actually change this. I can make these up any way I want. Let's say I'll make it a value of 10. I don't have to go in order if I want to. I can say my int array again, and I can say the 9th. Let's say the 9th in this particular case. The 9th value is equal to 64. or 164 because I didn't erase the 1. So there we go. I've gone through and I've actually set those values. If I print these out again, let me just print this out so you can see. If I print out my int array and I print out the 9th element of that array, I'm going to see a value of 164. So let me file save this. And I'm going to move this out of the way. And then we're going to hit play. And when we do, we're going to see that the value of 164 is now being printed out. Okay, awesome. So if I try and print out another value, let's say I try and print out one that I haven't set yet. Let's try and print out the, let me just print here, print out my int array. And instead of it being the 9th, let's print out the 8th element of the array. And let's file save this and see what happens. All right, I got to stop this because I didn't stop it before. All right, and let's hit play again. Okay, now we're seeing the 164. That is our 9th element, or the 10th position within the array. And we're seeing the other one was initialized to 0. So all the values that, let me stop this so I don't do the same thing again. All the values of the array were no, that's the wrong thing. It's this one here. There we go. All of the values of that array were initialized appropriately. All right, they're all initialized to a value of 0, and then I was able to go through and set particular values within that array. Okay, great. Something that's really important. I'm going to get rid of this line of code here because we don't really need this right now. Something that's really important here is within the declaration of an array is once I've declared the array of a specific size, that is the total number of elements that I have available to me within that array. If I wanted to reinitialize this array, I can. So initially I set aside enough memory for 10 integers. Let's say I wanted to reutilize and reinitialize this particular array. I could say my int array, and I don't know why it came in way down here. Let me give it a couple of tabs here so it's where I like it. There we go. Let's say my int array, and I'm going to redeclare this is equal to, and once again, I'm going to say new. I'm going to use the new keyword. And in doing so, as soon as I do this, it's going to automatically create for me a brand new integer array. All right, so I'm going to say my int array equals new, and I'm going to again say int, and I'm going to just give myself this square brackets. Actually, I know I'm going to give it a particular value. Let me just demonstrate it like this. I'm going to give it a value of 5. So I've declared a brand new integer array that only has 5 elements. And it's not actually a brand new integer array. It's a brand new memory allocation, but it is the same variable name. So my int array up here has 10 elements. My int array down here has 5 elements. If I try and print my int array, I'm just going to grab the same line of code right here. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to put it down here. If I try and print the 9th element of this array, which no longer exists, let's take a look at what happens. File, I'm going to save this. So in redefining my int array with only 5 elements, I end up creating 5 elements, 5 integers, all of value 0. Let me just move this out of the way. And let's hit play and see what happens. Let me clear off our warnings here. And I'm going to hit play and see what happens. So I'm expecting to see a value of 164. Great. That's what we want to see. That's our 9th location. And then we now have an error in our index out of range exception. This error tells us that we have gone outside of the memory that's been allocated to our array. This tells us that we have gone too far in our array. We do not have a 9th element any longer. So we were successfully able to redefine and reset the memory allocation for our array by using this new command once more. Okay, great. We're going to take a look, I think now, at a couple of different options as far as things you can do with an array. There is a bunch more information that we can actually pull out of any array. Right now we've declared ourselves this int array and it has a size of 10. Let's take a look. If I start right here, I say my int array, and instead of typing anything else, I use the dot. What the dot allows me to do is see everything that's available for this array, all the things I can do. So there's a bunch of different things in here. The one I'm looking for right now is length. So we can see we have a number of different options. If we start typing the word length, or if I just double click on it here, length itself, it will tell us how long this particular array is. I'm not going to leave it like this, actually. Instead, I'm going to print it. So let me just actually go through and print, and we'll actually do this, quotations, my array is size, space, and then we'll have the plus sign here, plus the size of our array. So, oh, I don't know why it has a capital P there, but it does. There we go. Print. Okay, so in this particular print statement, what I'm doing is I'm going to print out this little bit of string so we know what it is, and we're going to be printing out the length of the array afterwards. So what we're going to see here is a length of 10. All right, let me file save this and show you. All right, let's hit play. All right, there we go. We are still getting that error because I haven't fixed it yet, but we can see that my array of size 10 is size 10, and the ninth element, starting at 0, going to 9, is 164. Okay, awesome. Let's turn that off for now. Okay, guys, that is a really simple overview of arrays. All we've done in this particular case is declare arrays. We've gone through to see how to declare them, how to add values to them, and what have you. Again, I used integers as an example here. You can have any type of data within an array as long as all of the locations within the array, all the elements of the array, are of the same data type. You can use elements from an array, pass an array into a function. You can use elements and pass that into a function, just particular elements. We're going to take a look at how to go through and take and examine the entirety of an array in the next video. What we have to explore first is the idea of loops. All right, guys, so that's going to take us to the end of this particular video. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a really brief introduction to the idea of arrays as a data type. We saw how we can use an array, how we can set up an array here, how we can declare an array, how we can set the particular elements of the array and access those individual elements. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, let me know down below with a thumbs up. If you didn't, a thumbs down is perfectly fine. Remember, guys, these videos are for my students. Actually, I'm going to correct this right now because if I leave this here later on when I'm actually teaching it in class, I'm going to forget that I did that, and I'm just going to have errors. All right, guys. So let me file save that. All right, guys. So again, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, let me know down below with a thumbs up. If you didn't, a thumbs down is perfectly fine. These videos are for my students. This is the stuff I'm teaching them in class. I'm breaking these up into really small little chunks. Each of these videos are going to be small little chunks where I describe a particular concept that I'll be covering in my course. All right, guys. All right. Thumbs up, thumbs down, comments down below. And if you haven't done so, please take a few seconds to subscribe. Have yourselves a wonderful day, everyone.